Welcome to the show, Julie.
Thanks for having me on. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a year and a half. Julie was on the podcast.
Wow. That's a
March 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to quickly introduce you now. I'll get to why you wanted a podcast before. So Julie Duffy Dillon is a registered dietitian specializing in intuitive eating and PCOS, which is the reason why we are here, or PMOS. Now that's
Whatever.
we'll
Yeah.
get to this in a minute. And she's also the author of Find Your Voice, Find Your Food Voice. Find Your Voice was your podcast. Find Your Voice book that she published. And that's why she was on the podcast, episode 425 of our 10 years running of our podcast. So you're writing a new book?
I am. Yeah.
That's what I saw on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh my God, I got to catch up with her. What's up with that?
Yes. I'm so excited. It's the book that I've been wanting to write for like 20 years now. And it's a PCOS or PMOS book, of course. We're all getting used to the new name, and I've given myself all of 2026 to adjust. So yeah, they're interchangeable for me right now. But yeah, so it's going to be a book with all of the practice-based evidence I have from working with people with PCOS and all the research I can find to add to it. And so you can have all in one place, like a way to help manage your PCOS through any season, whether you're just diagnosed or you're in midlife or beyond. And it's not like another rigid diet. It's like, hey, what can I add to my life instead of taking another thing away to feel miserable? Yeah, so I'm excited, and it'll be out in January of 2028, which I know seems so far away, but it's really not.
Like what, a year and a half? Oh, from an author perspective, that's like rushing. Like you must be all into that right now.
Oh yeah, a little bit more than a third of the way done writing it. So yeah.
Oh, congratulations on your second book deal.
Thank you. Yeah, I love writing, and I love writing about PCOS in particular. So this is really
you've
great
been
for
the
me.
PCOS expert that I know of for years. That's been your thing.
Yeah. And it was something that I felt very alone doing for years and years, and I'm so glad there are more people who are finally like, oh yeah, I want to help people with this too, because there's so many people who have this condition and need support. So I welcome it.
So clearly you're the expert in this. And so I want the rest of the episode to be all about PCOS. And we'll start with, and I saw a post from you that says PCOS/PMOS. So let's deep dive into the name change business of PCOS.
Yeah.
Why is this happening? And like, let's dive into this. Why is that happening?
Yeah. So PCOS, and if we say the whole name, polycystic ovary syndrome, it comes across as this reproductive condition that only impacts fertility and really doesn't highlight how this is not just something that happens in reproductive years. And not everybody has fertility impact, and not everybody wants to have children. So and there's like all these other things that can kind of come into play with it. And they're actually not cysts. Like that's also the part of it. Like it's like if there's not even a cyst issue, it was just misnamed. These are really immature follicles. So it's been discussed for as long that I've been working in PCOS care to like have a better name, but it's been so complicated because in medicine, in funding, and like discussing diagnostics, like having a name is really important just to kind of like keep things kind of tidy, right? And certainly from a place of like advocacy, it also helps people to like name what they're experiencing, which is already really hard with PCOS because a lot of it's invisible. So it took a long time and it's still messy, but the new name incorporates more of actually what's happening. And I really wish they would have kept the same letters. I think that would have been nice for many different people, especially for people with the condition to be able to have community and things like that. But the new name is polyendocrine metabolic. Polyendocrine metabolic ovary syndrome. See, it's not rolling off the tongue anymore. like PCOS did. So anyway, at least now the polyendocrine metabolic, like that section of it helps us to appreciate that there's many different hormones. It impacts metabolism and also ovaries possibly. And will it really improve things? I mean, time will tell. It's something that I think better helps people at diagnosis be like, oh, this is something that's going to like be a whole body condition, not just my ovaries. And we care about you as a whole person, not just your ovaries. And I do have some fears with it, with the word metabolism in there. Is it just going to be another way to label it as like, oh, you just need to lose weight? It certainly impacts metabolism and how our body uses energy and like is able to use food and things like that. And, my thing that I know is that weight change doesn't cause it. So why would losing weight cure it? It's still that side of it, but yeah. So that's what's going on. That brings you up to date.
So that's the fact. What I'm curious about is the expert, the person who's been in this industry, the business of PCOS for 10 years. How do you feel about the name change? Is it a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
I mean, there's some nuance, right? Like I do appreciate how it is not having the word cyst anymore, because that was annoying to me. That is more of a holistic name. And again, I wish they would have kept the same letters, because my concern now is it's already so hard to connect in community for people with this condition. It's a very isolating, shameful kind of condition. I wish it wasn't, but that's just how society has kind of pushed it to be. And so connecting with other people with it, I see as like the most powerful way to promote health. And changing the name, I think, is going to make that really, really messy. It could possibly increase funding. So that's great, because PCOS research is so hard to come by. Having different words in there, it's going to allow to kind of catch on with different type of funding sources. But having a new name means they kind of need to start all over again.
Really?
Start all over again. I mean, with advocacy, with like people recognizing the letters and like, oh yeah, I know someone with that. PCOS Challenge is this advocacy organization that every year puts together this huge push to Congress to help with awareness and funding. And I think about them in particular. They've worked so hard to teach people who actually make decisions on funding about PCOS. Yes, exactly. And, every year, people like me who don't have PCOS but help people with it, and then people with PCOS, we would get together and do these pitches to people in Congress in the U.S. And now there's this new name that they have to like kind of reteach. And so it's messy. I mean, that's just basically like any change is messy, right? Though. So, and for me, I'm comfortable with that. Like, yeah, change is hard. It's going to be messy, but I also don't have the condition. So I'm like, it's going to be hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So PCOS with the word cyst, is it more advanced research, like understanding more the condition that has led to that name change in the evolution to a metabolic syndrome? Like, is there like recent research update that has accumulated to this name change? And if so, what are the most recent update in research?
So every 5 years, there's these evidence-based guidelines that are published that are really thorough and have hundreds of people to help write them. And I'm trying to think, like, when was the first one I read? I mean, the last one was in 2023. So probably in the early 2000s. Yeah. I don't even remember when they first started doing them. But for as long as I've worked in PCOS care, we've known about, most people have high insulin levels. The name PCOS does not incorporate that at all. Within the last 10, 12 years, researchers have noted that people with PCOS are in a chronic pro-inflammatory state. So PCOS has nothing from that either. So we've known in research for a long time. It's not like there was something in the last few years that was like, oh, yes, now we can change it. It's been well established. It just wasn't a good name. And it's something that research had for so long, was just focus on the menstrual cycle and PCOS. And that's all the research really was looking at for a long time. So it just is catching up is really what I think is happening.
So that's going to lead me to the next part of the conversation I want to have with you. You may not be aware of that, but I've done for the last 2.5 months. I've done an extensive series on GLP-1 and a weight neutral approach.
Oh, great.
And it was like we took every angle of it and deep dive into it for an hour. We didn't do anything on PCOS/PMOS. So I want to have this conversation with you. However, I'm curious. And now that I know the whole back end of GLP-1, the whole marketing push behind it,
Yes.
is there a link between broadening the name, like catching up the name to PMOS? Is there a push behind that from the GLP-1 manufacturer pharmaceutical complex to have the name change so can then be associated with GLP-1?
Stephanie, I love how your brain works. You're asking the good questions. So I don't know, but I can speculate in the same. I see where your brain is going, and I'm like, that's very interesting. And something to just name is there's no current FDA approved medication for PCOS. As many people that have this condition, everything's off label.
Okay.
There are little whispers that happen in the PCOS space where we hear about things. And one of the whispers is that there is a medication going through trials that could possibly be the FDA approved medication finally for PCOS, and that it does incorporate a GLP-1. So I see the smile on your face.
I spent 15 hours interviewing specialists. I'm like, I'm so not surprised. Like by default, I became a weight neutral GLP-1 expert. And like, I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, I knew it. That's why I wanted you on the podcast.
I mean, it's not based on like, oh, I have proof, but it's convenient timing. And that's like, and you'll hear as we talk about GLP-1s and PCOS, like, I don't have like yes or no to say you should or shouldn't use it. I think that the way that that's currently being pushed is really messing with things. It could be a lot safer if it was done differently. So I'll be curious to see like how much of a GLP-1 is in this medication. And my fear with the metabolism part, like I said, is that it's going to be all the weight focus. Like, this is the measure of health. And of course, with GLP-1s, that's the fear as well, too, right? Weight loss at all costs.
Okay, so let's take that and like break it down into two things.
Okay.
Let's go back to the basic of PCOS/PMOS. You're saying there's no labeled approved medication for it. Do we understand the mechanism of PCOS, PMOS as we stand today, July 2026, and the evidence today? Like, what's the latest research? And if so, why is there no medication?
Okay, so that's a very stepwise answer. Okay, so understanding PCOS is that it's a very complicated condition, just like many syndromes, right? And there's genetic, there's environment, there's disruptions in different hormonal regulations areas in our brain, in particular the HPA axis, I'm like, did I want to remember what the H stands for? Hyperthyroid? No, not hyperthyroid. I'll think of it after I move on. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm on talking in a podcast, I can't remember simple things, but HPA axis. And, I've done a lot of writing on the causes of PCOS and how environment impacts it, because I noticed that so much of the blame is on weight and food. And, food is a part of our environment. So, okay, I can accept that, but it's also other things. And, I did this one research deep dive essay on trauma and how that impacts PCOS. And what I uncovered was really, I don't know, it surprised me what I found in the research. And it's like, it wasn't that it was, this was research that already exists. It's not like this is something that was new that I was reporting on. It was just like, this is already there, that when people are children and experience trauma, especially chronic trauma, that contributes to the actual development of it, how it changes how the brain is able to function. In particular, if people are born with certain genetic traits, how it overloads the system and promotes this hormonal dysregulation. And so, it's a very complex condition is basically what it comes down to. It has some genetic similarities to diabetes. It's still mostly genetic and very similar to that. So we know some of it. We just don't know all of it, right? There's not like, there's a couple different genetic markers that they've been able to identify. But again, it's not like it's this. There's no test, like if you have strep throat or not, right? Your other question, I already forget, but I remember there was a...
I'll ask the second question just a minute.
Yeah.
So that's why it's called a syndrome. For people,
yes.
Like layman's term, a syndrome is a collection of symptoms. Then when associated together, get to a diagnosis of PCOS, PMOS. Did I explain this right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's why it's called a syndrome, because there's no direct A equal B here. There's no direct. Just when you have that many symptoms, you can get diagnosed with this. And it's probably why there's not a, quote, medication like a, here, take this, and then PCOS will go away, because the symptoms may be coming from different sources. Is that the logic behind it?
Yes, and people experience different symptoms. There's not an exact experience. And, something I want to mention, because I always think it's important to mention when we talk about the causes of PCOS, is if you're listening and you have this condition, you didn't cause it. Like, you didn't eat the wrong thing or gain too much weight or not exercise enough or, whatever. This is such a complex condition. And again, there's real research on the genetics and how trauma impacts it. These are things that are not in your control. This is something that happens to someone, and sometimes it's just the cards you're dealt, just like many other syndromes, right? So, but yeah, you didn't actually cause it.
So there's no labeled approved medication because of the complexity of the root cause, because of the variety of symptoms. Now let's connect it with GLP-1, because me and you in practice. So first of all, I want to say you have a amazing Substack. That's where you publish those essays. So we're going to put the link of it in the show notes.
Thank you.
If you do have PCOS, PMOS, or your patients and clients have that, you should subscribe to get your most recent thoughts around that. You also, do you still run your membership?
No, I'm just writing right now. Just writing in my garage.
And that's why you close your podcast too. Let's talk about that, right?
Yes, you said your podcast was 10 years old. Mine was too. Yes.
Yeah, we started at the same time.
That's just so amazing. We're the OGs, I guess, huh? Yeah, I had a podcast that was not just about PCOS, but about a complicated history with food. And I closed that in the spring.
To dedicate to writing this book on PCOS /PMOS.
Yeah. It was time to turn off the mic. Yeah.
And move on to Substack.
Exactly. I mean, I'll do something else eventually, but for right now, it's just, this is the season. So.
Well, it is the season, because when you write a book, you deep dive into research, into writing, and then you're going to promote the thing. So
exactly,
what's going to happen in 2028?
It's a lot of work,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about the reality, the clinical observation, and what people face. Most people, when being diagnosed, are faced with two things: weight, cause the PCOS, and then insulin resistance, because you, quote, ate too much carbs/sugar.
Right.
And this is where my fear goes, because that's the whole narrative behind GLP-1, right? Weight causes the disease. It's not your fault, but weight causes the disease. So, and some people, I'll add one more thing. Some people are being currently prescribed GLP-1 for their PCOS diagnosis. It's happening.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Because the blame is on weight and carbohydrate metabolism. Is that, what do you think of that? Let's open the topic there.
Well, again, I think it's something that deserves a lot of sifting through and nuance. And there's not a yes, no, there's lots of gray. And I can't tell you I'm for or against black and white with GLP-1s and PCOS. And, I was a diabetes educator for many years before I started working with PCOS and eating disorders. And I was at a conference when they announced the discovery of GLP-1s, and everyone's crying. And I was like, what? I was very young. Yeah. And I had patients taking Byetta, which was like the first iteration of GLP-1s. And when I started specializing in PCOS, I remember being like, oh, I wonder if this is something that will be used for it. And the reason why I said that is because of PCOS, having this condition for most people, not everyone, but it's estimated to be that 75 to 95% of people with PCOS have some kind of insulin resistance. And I would say it's probably even closer to 95%. It's probably some misdiagnosis for the lower end. But the other thing is, as a person gets older with PCOS, the longer you live with any condition, it gets worse. And usually insulin resistance is going to be a part of it. So that's important just to know. And part of insulin resistance for PCOS is this, like you said, this carbohydrate metabolism going awry. And understanding why this happens, it's important to understand that. And I'm sure you've done so much of the explaining of GLP-1s and incretins and how that's a big part of it. And, with these incretins, how they're naturally released from your gut and in response to eating, and then your body is releasing insulin. But what researchers are noting with this insulin resistance with PCOS, with type 2 diabetes, with the type of diabetes that kind of comes from insulin resistance, how incretins are not being released enough, or there's something that's breaking down.
Yeah.
And in particular with PCOS, the thing that makes it different than typical insulin resistance is there is so much insulin, so much more than there is with diabetes. That's what makes PCOS different from diabetes, is there's this abundance of insulin, so much so that A1Cs are usually normal, even though people are like, I feel miserable. And so that's why when I was first starting to learn about PCOS, I was like, GLP-1, maybe? And that was 2006, 2008, 10, in there. GLP-1s at that point were very low dose, low and slow. And it was this last resort medication for type 2 diabetes because of the risks, the side effects, and things like that. Because, when you're injecting, or I guess now taking a pill, and Byetta, I think, was a pill, but nobody liked it. Or no, it wasn't Byetta. There was another GLP-1 that started with an R. Remember the name, but it had so many side effects that people hated it. And so they stopped making it. But of course, now they're making it again. When a person's taking a GLP-1, it's like a fire hose instead of a trickle of incretins that they get, which I don't know if I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but the incretins are a type of GLP-1, right? And so it's different. So that's why this low and slow kind of rate was what I was like, oh, that'd be really cool for PCOS. And that's what was used for so long. But of course, people were like, wait, there's weight loss. So they're starting to use a ton more GLP-1s to get more of that weight loss. And I was really interested in, besides the weight loss, because you and I both work from the same perspective of okay, so there's weight loss, but let's talk about health, because we have separated that. And I also know most people stop taking these GLP-1s within a year. So what happens afterwards? And I feel really lucky, because I've worked in PCOS for so long, and also in this anti-diet space, I've had a chance to talk to a lot of people who have experimented with GLP-1s with their PCOS, who are also fat activists or eating disorder therapists or dietitians. And they have told me what it has been like. And some were saying, even when I stopped taking it, my symptoms were still improved. like they were still experiencing lower androgens and lower insulin, more energy. Not everyone, but some people were. So I was like, well, that's really interesting. So that's why I wanted to do this like deep dive essay on it. I'm like, I need to devote a month to like reading everything I can. And so I was like, I'm just looking at PCOS. There's lots of research on diabetes and I don't know, like cholesterol and insulin levels and blood sugar. I was like, no, I want to just know for PCOS. And is it okay to kind of go into at this point what I read about it?
Right.
Okay.
That's what everybody wanted to know about. Is like, is there any substantial evidence? I think the big thing right now, I'm just going to pause and debrief a little bit.
Yeah.
What I understood from you that I didn't know before is that the mechanism of the insulin production is different from type 2 diabetes and insulin, which is really important to understand, which then brings me to the next question. Is there specific research understanding the mechanism of PCOS and insulin to demonstrate that GLP-1 is effective? And for the listener, if you haven't listened yet to the GLP-1 weight neutral series, I would refer you to the episode with Reagan Chaston that we did, because we deep dive into the kind of the two ways GLP-1 is being prescribed: the low dose, which is the originating reason why GLP-1 were created, low dose for type 2 diabetes, and the high dose, the super dose or the weight loss dose, which is the higher dose. So in the low dose world, the original GLP-1, is there any evidence that it does support helping with insulin mechanism related to PCOS?
There is some. So something to appreciate with PCOS, and again, that's why the syndrome is messy, right? Not everyone has the same experiences, but if you have intense carb cravings, if you have really painful fatigue, ovulation issues, if your androgens cause hair growth that you don't like or hair loss you don't like, not everyone has those. You may have some of those or all of them. That's what research I was looking for, is like, where can it help with PCOS management and like the symptoms? So again, with PCOS, because for most people, there is going to be some kind of issue with insulin, having an overproduction of insulin. And something I didn't mention is like with PCOS, when there's not enough of these incretins and the body just makes more and more and more insulin, the insulin that's made in response to low amounts of incretins is not really like the sharpest insulin. You know, it's kind of like, you know, I don't know if this rings any bells for you, but it reminds me of like gluconeogenesis in the liver. Like when we eat food and it breaks down to glucose, it can provide energy, but then our liver can make its own glucose or gluconeogenesis, but the glucose is not as great. You know, it's kind of the same. And
like Diet Coke and real Coke, right?
I mean, I guess they hit different. Yeah. Exactly. So the GLP-1, what researchers found is because it helps to make more of the incretins, it makes more of the better functioning insulin.
Okay.
So holding all of that, when I read through the research, I was looking at things like labs, right? I was like triglycerides, LDL cholesterol, HDL cholesterol, insulin, blood sugar, androgens, ovulation, inflammation. Like those are the big ones that I was like, let me read through it. And it took me about a month to do this, right? Because there's not that much research. It should take longer for as many people who are taking this and push to take it. And when it comes down to it, I'm looking at my little cheat sheet here. LDL, no improvement noted yet. Ovulation, it's too early to tell. Yeah. Because the research is so few people and not long enough, they just couldn't track it yet. But what we do see in particular is triglycerides, which triglycerides are something that I noticed to be one of the first things that's starting to go high with PCOS when I would work with clients long-term. And, you know, triglycerides is the part of your like cholesterol panel that starts to go abnormal when your blood sugar is higher. Even if your fasting blood sugar is normal, even if your oral glucose tolerance says as normal, like the triglycerides sometimes can catch it before, because triglycerides is basically like it's related to your blood sugar. So GLP-1 use, and I don't have exact doses. They tested different types of GLP-1s, different doses. So I don't have like this dose is the one that does it, because there's not enough data yet for that. But that is one in particular that saw improvement. So much so that I was like, yes, okay. PMOS and GLP-1s, triglycerides, yes. Again, LDLs, no improvement found yet. Insulin and blood sugar, yes, but best with metformin, which people sleep on metformin. I always say, like,
what do you mean? That's very important. When you say best best result on metformin versus GLP-1.
No, best together. So combined. And that, like, as we're talking, I'm like, maybe that'll be the drug that they choose for PCOS. But when you're on a metformin and GLP-1 together, there's often a lower dose of GLP-1 with a metformin. And, you know, if you've taken metformin and had horrible experiences, I mean, there's definitely, I'm sure you've heard people talk about how it can make their GI tract feel like they're eating glass. But metformin is something that's an insulin sensitizer. It helps your liver make less glucose. It helps your body to better utilize insulin. And so, yeah, combining with GLP-1s, it makes sense. I'm like, okay. And insulin resistance, again, in particular, is one of the big reasons people have so many symptoms with their PCOS, like disrupting their sleep and having energy crashes and things like that. And then the other one is androgens. So that was the other one that also showed a positive result with GLP-1 use. So triglycerides, androgens, and insulin and blood sugar. So those three areas. The other one I didn't mention yet, or the two, was ovulation. I did say that one, too early to tell. And inflammation also was too early to tell. And even though I, read through that research and was like, okay, so triglycerides, androgens, and blood sugar and insulin, those can all be improved with GLP-1s. That doesn't mean yes, for sure, because there's also these other considerations. Most people that I talk to with PCOS have a very complicated history with food. I know I specialize in eating disorders, so I'm seeing probably a very, an audience, or like connecting with people who have a certain experience. So I can't say that everyone with PCOS has an eating disorder, but like most people I talk to have had some kind of disordered eating, chronic diet history at least, unless they can be taught how to not diet with their PCOS at diagnosis, which I think should be the gold standard. And that's what my book's going to be about. But having a GLP-1 as part of your medication puts so much at risk. And that's the other thing, talking to people in recovery or fat activists who have been on a GLP-1 with their PCOS. Some people, again, are in recovery from an eating disorder. Using a GLP-1 just seemed to rev that thing back up and made it too dangerous. And so that doesn't promote health. Like if it's going to provoke an eating disorder to come or return, that is not health promoting. Like,
curious about this, if I can ask a question again, because of my now 15 hours of involuntary research on GLP-1. But part of it, like, let's be honest, the reason why I did this series was to educate myself.
Yes, exactly.
Having to read boring research paper, which is not my zone of genius. So I'm like, let's bring those experts in and let me ask questions.
Talk. Yeah.
I'll get educated. Okay, so those fat activist eating disorder patient, when they were prescribed GLP-1 for PCOS, was in the low dose / type 2 diabetes dosing or the high dose to induce weight loss? Because that's one thing I was diving with Marcy. In her episode, it's like the dosing with eating disorder makes the difference, because the low dose typically don't induce severe weight loss and it doesn't trigger ED.
Exactly. Yeah, because I've talked to people who've done all of those, right? Yeah. And the amount of advocating for yourself to maintain the lower dose sounds exhausting. That's what, people have relayed to me is it takes so much to just say, I don't want the higher dose. I'm experiencing euglycemia. Like my blood sugar is normal. Fine. Like let's just stay here. And also many insurance companies will only pay for it when there is weight loss. So then it becomes an accessibility issue. People can only access it at a higher dose. So then who can have a GLP-1 that doesn't trigger a relapse for the eating disorder are people who have enough money to pay for it. So yeah, that's effed up.
It is.
I don't know. I'm like, is there another word that could be clinically appropriate besides that?
No, we swear we sweared a lot on those 15 episodes, trust me. So but it is fucked up to think that the insurance would only pay at high dose when a low dose for a group of PCOS patients would do the job to address the core issue, which is insulin resistance. Why not? Why not would you pay for that? Like,
because I think the way that everyone's in bed with the idea that like weight and health are together, they're like married. I think Shavis, I can't remember Shavis's last name right now. Person who started the Binge Eating Disorder Association. That's something she always said, like that there's like a marriage of weight and health, and they're like, no. And I also think there's been lots of lobbying for these medications to make sure that weight and health are so tightly tied together. So then reimbursement is only for the higher dose, which is a shame because I think so many decisions in healthcare hurt people with PCOS more than everybody else. And I know people don't like me saying that. I think diet culture hurts people with PCOS more. And I think GLP-1 abuse of like pushing only the higher dose hurts people with PCOS more because this could be a medication that could help people with their insulin resistance at a lower dose. It could be an option and helping people like the folks who are on that lower dose or on a dose that was appropriate for them, the way they're like, I feel like I have energy for the first time in my life. I'm like, I think people are often on either disabled or just not able to do a lot with this condition. And finally being able just to feel like at home in their body and awake. And if they then able to like provide for themselves and their family, it's like a complete game changer. But yeah, because of this obsession with GLP-1s only causing weight loss, and that's how it improves health, it's really messing with things. Yeah.
And what I'll call the diet culture medicine approach to PCOS, which is it's because of your weight, you have PCOS, and it's because you eat too much carb, which by the way, people heard you say like a lot of people have an eating disorder and PCOS. The eating disorder, and correct me if I'm wrong, did not cause a PCOS. Is the treatment plan that those people were put on that caused the eating disorder because of the restriction and the weight loss. Is that correct?
For sure. Yeah, I think very few people with PCOS would have an eating disorder if there was no diet culture, having PCOS, it makes hormonal differences like the higher insulin levels, the higher androgens, and the lower CCK or cholecystokine. And those are all hormones that disrupt how we feel from food, the energy levels, the satisfaction. So if you feel like this intense kind of primal urge to eat, that's coming from those hormones being just not being treated. I call that like a healthcare gap. Like that's a PCOS care gap. And that is a trigger that like lets us know like, hey, there's a care gap going on. Same with food noise. That's something I think we talked about in our last episode that we recorded together. Food noise is a big thing that people with PCOS talk about, that the intense thoughts with food. And that is coming from the diet trauma combined with those intense cravings. And again, if you're experiencing lots of food noise with your PCOS, that is evidence of a care gap. That is not something that's you're doing it wrong or you're lazy or have no self-control and that didn't cause the PCOS. That's coming from you're not getting the right care for your PCOS.
So if you would love to entertain me, just like a 5-minute, what is, in your opinion, the better care to fill that gap? That is not obviously weight loss and food restriction.
Right, because that's just going to make it worse. Yeah.
People have to go to your Substack to get more and read the book, but if you have like a 5-minute, better getter.
5 or 5 days, I can do either one. I
5 minutes for now.
So yes, like I wish when people had those either cravings or the food noise that they were taught that that was a tell of a care gap. Like, hey, that's your body telling you. It's tapping on your shoulder or shaking you, like, hey, your body needs something. It's not that you need to take something away or you're doing it wrong. And instead, this is the way that you know you need more support. And it may be that you need a new medication, another supplement, that you need more rest, or you forgot your medication the last few days. And that's why this is happening. It could be also the way through different seasons of your life that lets you know, like, oh, my PCOS is getting harder to treat, because it's a chronic condition. So it's going to get worse over time, even if you're perfect, right? And so, yeah, like I wish people knew that it was just a way to know that you need to go see a provider or that you're missing something. And what that could be, it could be you need to make sure you're eating enough. You need to make sure that you've been screened for a sleep disorder and you're getting enough rest. Maybe you need some boundaries. There's too many toxic people in your life, or toxic situations. It could also be like, oh, maybe you need more protein with whatever you're eating with breakfast or fiber. Maybe you need to start an inositol supplement. I don't know. Like there could be something that you need to add. And that's really what my book's all about is like, when you have these care gaps, what do you need to add instead of what do you need to take away?
And that's the Find Your Food Voice book, your first book, that we're also going to link in the show note that you're referring to.
Well, that Find Your Food Voice is not for PCOS, though. That's the only thing.
It's not for PCOS.
No,
That's going to be the upcoming book.
So Find Your Food Voice does have 3 people in there with PCOS. So I definitely spend some time on it. But it's really written for someone who's in that space of diet trauma. It's written for that. And PCOS is for anybody with PCOS. I mean, if you have that diagnosis or you know someone, and it's like what I wish you were told, like that exact question, like if someone's experiencing these things, what do you want them to do? I want them to know, hey, this means you just need to add something. Like you don't cut out carbs and sugar. Don't like add another risk factor to your long-term health by adding dieting and weight cycling. Let's instead add a new tool. And the book is all the tools. Yeah.
For anybody that's listening to this, that's new to our world, right? One of the anchor points of a weight neutral approach is the sustainability of the treatment plan, right? So if we take PCOS and we give it for treatment plan to lose weight and cut carbs, that the problem is that that's not sustainable. Like
Sure.
This is the main problem. It's not going to be sustainable for the rest of life. So what happened when you're no longer able to restrict and that the weight comes back, which we're 95% of the chance it's going to come back, then PCOS going to come back in full flare?
Yeah, like exactly. And probably worse. And I just finished the chapter all on like all the different diets that are prescribed for people with PCOS. And like the data is ridiculous. It's really funny actually, because how few people have actually been studied with PCOS on like intermittent fasting or ketogenic diets or like any of them. So few people, such short durations. And when there is anything longer than like 9-ish months, you see it all returning back. And then when you apply it to the general population, because we don't have any long-term PCOS research, you see all those diets flopping and making things worse. So yeah, that's why, no, like it may in the short term. And that's what makes this such a hard sell. Like any diet, it's going to probably improve ovulation for a few months or blood sugar for a few months. But I think most people have tried it more than once and they can be like, oh yeah, it stops working at some point. And it's not because you did it wrong. It's because it just doesn't work. So.
And could it be also the danger of GLP-1 at high doses for PCOS, PMOS treatment is because even the high dose GLP-1 won't be sustainable long term.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's what some of the drug companies are hoping to change is that people can like have funding forever and be on it forever. But the reality is most people, I mean, was it 80% of people are on less than a year? And so yeah, that's the big issue. Like it may actually be a sustainable option if it was just normalized at a lower dose. Like this could be something that would actually help people have a much like higher quality of life with their PCOS. Would it change their weight? I don't know. Probably not at the lower dose, but maybe for some people. I mean, we don't know, and I don't think that's something that people are out there studying at this point. Because
I was going to say, is there research on PCOS/GLP-1 currently undergoing?
I mean, I'm sure there's some. I don't know. But I'm not in any researchers. None of them are my year. but a lot of their funding is going to be weight change. So, you know, exactly. I'm not in their favorite place.
Yeah, well, they claim to be studying various conditions, but what they're really studying is weight loss. Yeah. And then the observed side effect that could be linked to condition. And then they're saying, well, it's a solution for this.
Exactly. And it's connecting dots that's like missing so many other things. Yes. And that's why I did that deep dive, because I was like, no. I want to find PCOS only and the parts of PCOS that are making health like worrisome and complicated and making things harder for people. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else I didn't ask you about that you think is worth mentioning for people listening? An angle that I may have missed?
No, and I just hope that if you are feeling like seduced by GLP-1 use and PCOS, that you give yourself a beat, you know?
It's normal.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen those commercials too. I'm like, ooh, that sounds fun. And to hear my kids with the like singing the jingle, I'm like, if you sing that jingle one more time, I may throw the remote and break the TV. But you know, it's really great marketing, and great marketing is sticky. And you know, people with PCOS have been told that they have to lose weight, and they've been like promised so many amazing outcomes with different diets, with weight loss surgery. That's another one I need to do a deep dive on, with weight loss surgery. And and they've just never delivered. For most people, there's been like that random, like one person that will have success in a long term. But so I encourage you to be skeptical and find a provider who is willing to take their time with this. If you can have access to a provider who can help you take it slow and not like, I know it can be hard to find a medical provider who's not focused on weight. So especially where I live in like a small town in the South. So like, good luck. There's like one or two and they're not taking new patients. So, because everybody loves seeing them. But yeah, if you can find a provider who can just like look at other things besides weight. There is one other thing I want to tell you. I'm so glad I said that, because it reminded this in my brain. Especially if you're listening to this podcast because you already are in a place of rejecting diets, maybe in recovery, and you have PCOS and you decide, okay, I need another way to help have a cycle or something. There's something that really, you need another tool. So you start to go down the route of a GLP-1, and you find your provider who you've been working with forever, who doesn't ask about weight, whatever, is supporting you. What you may notice is once you start a GLP-1, everyone thinks you changed like teams. If we're on teams like weight loss, anti-weight loss,
whack and type diet world. Yeah.
Yes. So if people see you're on a GLP-1 in your chart, all your providers who've been helping you without talking about weight may start talking about weight because they think that you are prioritizing it. And so just like, I don't know, I wanted to give you a heads up that you may be like effing exhausted again. Like it isn't hard already, but you may have to re-advocate. Like, no, I know I'm on a GLP-1 and I still don't want to talk about weight as a measure of progress. Like you may have to reinstate all those things. I wish it wasn't that way. It's another reason why this GLP-1 like intense kind of culture is making things harder for people in recovery and just people in general. But yeah, you may have to say all the things again and again and again. That's it. Yeah.
I'm going to share something here because it happened to me yesterday. I do not have PCOS, but I have a chronic condition with the scoliosis and potential bone disease, and I'm fat. And here's the approach that I now don't even give a chance to the new doctor. Like yesterday, I saw a new rheumatologist. I didn't even give the poor guy a chance to talk about weight. Like I walked into the office to say, hi, I'm Stephanie. and I'm weight neutral. I have an eating disorder that has been in recovery. I do not want any recommendation or question about my weight or that would require me to lose weight. Now we can carry on with the consultation.
Proceed.
Proceed from there. This is the rules of engagement, and proceed from there.
Boundary. Yeah.
I'm just like I'm the one being victimized. So and maybe they are weight neutral. I don't know. I'm just like telling them very politely, affirmatively, and this is what it is. It took literally a minute, and it changed the game. Find out that this particular physician was weight neutral.
Wow, impressive.
I didn't give him a chance. I just we're not going to go down there. I'm not going to be triggered. I'm not going to feel shame. Let's not talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Just like a universal,
what it is.
Universal precautions, right? Just like, I'm just going to assume every healthcare provider is focused on weight and get it over with instead of sitting the whole appointment guarded, and scared.
And the way that I'm thinking about this is I've been stigmatized and traumatized so much that now I'm protecting myself. And maybe that's going to be aggressing to the physician who's weight neutral. But at this point, I care more about my well-being.
Yeah, and I think
know some people won't agree with that, but that's just where I am in my life right now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I feel like we all get to a point where it's okay if you don't agree with me. And also, I know as for me as a weight neutral provider, if someone said that at the beginning of the session, I would not be offended. I'd be like, wow, let's unpack. You have to start every appointment that way.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're here, and how hard for you,
Yeah.
So yes, thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So I know I don't have PCOS, so I cannot relate to the lived experience of PCOS, but from another chronic condition person, this maybe.
Yeah. And I think people with PCOS, I wish they would be okay naming it as a chronic condition more often. But I think there's so much selling of we can fix it. There's a cure. But once folks name it as a chronic condition, there's a lot of community then with other people experiencing chronic conditions and diseases. So yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
While we wait for your book to come out, because I'm sure you'll be back in a year and a half again.
Would you let me come back? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Put me on the top of your list.
Oh, you're so amazing. Thank you.
Where can people find you?
Substack is definitely the place where I am. And my Substack name is PCOS Health with Intuitive Eating. And yeah, I do at least a weekly email essay and do a really hardcore deep dive into some topic related to PCOS, including trauma, like I mentioned earlier, ovulation. I did fiber. Should we be fiber maxing with PCOS? Menopause, midlife PCOS, because yes, it does not go away after menopause, and just whatever topic. I think the next one I'm working on is fatigue, PCOS fatigue.
Yeah. And I know you're not ready to answer that question, so if you don't have an answer, don't have an answer. But since you no longer work with people, is there a referral? Here's where you can go if you want to be working with someone?
Yes, actually, I did a number of years. I did training on helping providers to be able to work with people with PCOS from a weight neutral perspective. So I can give you the link in a follow-up email, but the email to get the whole list of providers who've gone through a training with me is julieduffydillon.com/PCOS providers. And it has a link for you of all these folks. And if you are listening and you live in an area where you cannot find someone, shoot me an email. Go on my website and the contact page, shoot me an email. PCOS providers, we kind of all know each other. So
yeah,
I can see if I can help you find someone. I can't guarantee it, but
we have a ton of secret Facebook group that we'll put your name in, and we'll put not your name, your full name, but we'll put your name, your location. Somebody will say, yeah, I can take them. So
yes, exactly.
We have those secret Facebook group available. Thank you very much for your time and catching up. Yeah. And we'll put a date on our calendar, another 18 months for the release of your book.
I love it. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate the chat. It was so great.
Thank you. Want to coach behaviors, not bodies? Learn the mindset tool and the method that create real changes? Join the waitlist for the next cohort of the non-diet coaching certification at stephaniedodier.com/waitlist. That's where the real training begins. And I'll see you on the other side, my sisters.